You might be abandoning yourself and not even realizing you're doing it. Today, I'm going to share 5 signs that this is exactly what you've been doing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. These are the very patterns that leave so many of us feeling stuck, burnt out, and disconnected from ourselves and our own lives. And once you spot them, you can finally start doing something to change it. I'm Wiley, clinical social worker, heart-centered hypnotherapist, embodiment and nervous system guide. And around here, we talk about how to go from self-abandonment to self-belonging. So if these signs sound familiar, you are not alone and you are exactly where you need to be. Self-abandonment is when we ignore our own needs, we silence our own voice, and we prioritize the comfort of others over our own authenticity and safety in our body. We think we're keeping the peace, but we're just losing a part of ourselves each and every time we engage in these patterns. I know because I myself have done this, where we feel like we're just being helpful or responsible, but really we're just running on empty and feeling invisible in our own lives. Let's jump right in. The first sign is overcommitting our time. Our calendars are full of things for everyone else, but we don't prioritize time in our schedule for slowness. We don't create space in our lives, space to slow down, to be able to come home to ourselves, just to be with ourselves, in order to have the capacity to show up for the people in our lives that we care about and that we do want to show up for in meaningful ways. We might think this is just a busy season in our lives, but if every season is overbooked and go, 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 that's a very clear sign that we are overcommitting ourselves. And that is self-abandonment. Prioritizing the needs of others over our own on a consistent basis over the long haul is a clear sign that we have learned and downloaded a program and a pattern that it's not safe for us to put our own needs first. And prioritizing our own needs, it feels selfish or it feels indulgent because we've learned that in order to get our needs met, we must first meet the needs of others. And this is one of the signs at the core of self-abandonment. The second sign that we might be engaging in self-abandoning behaviors is that we're ignoring our own body signals. You push through exhaustion, you skip meals, you stop taking care of yourself in meaningful ways, and you always tell yourself the story that it's just for a period of time or just in this moment. You feel tension in your neck or in your stomach. Your body is giving you every indication that something is very much out of balance. And we keep telling ourselves we will slow down and address it later when things slow down. That's just a lie that we tell ourselves to keep ourselves moving forward with all that urgency and restlessness that just keeps us going in circles. And every day feels like we get up and we go, go, go. And we aren't able to slow down enough to actually listen to the messages that our body is sending us. And in fact, even if we hear those messages, because many of us do struggle with physical pain or different ailments within our body, we ignore those signals because we feel like we just don't have the capacity or the time to deal with it. Your body is speaking to you. We've just learned to ignore it. And one of the skill sets that is so important is to learn to become very self-aware and to slow down and create that space to be able to listen to the very real signals our body is sending us in real time about how we are prioritizing everyone else and not even listening to our own needs. The third sign that we might be engaging in self-abandonment is that we are people-pleasing at our own expense. We believe that if we create safety or comfort for others, that will then create a dynamic where we feel more at ease. Agree to things, to commitments, to projects, to energy expenditure just to keep the peace. You agree just to avoid conflict and the tension that is created at times when we have to stand in our own power and say no with love and kindness, but just no, I don't have the space right now to meet that obligation. Because for so many of us, we are so patterned in the fact that if we don't meet the needs of others, our needs won't get met. And it's very hard for us when other people's response is registered in our own body as disappointment or disapproval. And it makes it so that we want to avoid that tension and that discomfort. And so we say yes when we actually mean no. Like your worth depends on their reaction. And that is just exhausting for so many of us because we never actually get the reaction that we're looking for because we're seeking something outside of ourselves that other people just can't give. And it creates this dynamic and this pattern in our lives where over and over again, we feel like we have to agree to things or commit to things or show up and follow through on things that in our heart, we just don't have the capacity to do. And so we push and we struggle and we hustle in order to make sure all the things get done. And in fact, that's just exhausting our nervous system and making it really hard to stay regulated because there's always this urgency, this restlessness. It makes it hard when we do want to slow down because our body doesn't want to let us rest because it's in such an activated state a majority of the time. The fourth sign that we're engaging in self abandonment is that we're seeking external validation in some form. We only feel okay when other people tell us we're okay. We have difficulty making decisions and we ask everyone outside of ourselves for their feedback or their opinions. And we can't make any kind of decisions unless others give us positive validation or positive reinforcement that the decisions and choices we're making in our life are good or are the right choices. We don't ever actually listen to our own inner knowing, even if it feels a little bit scary. Because, of course, growth and transformation is going to push against our comfort zone. And so we allow ourselves to stay small because we're always asking others outside of us to give us permission and validation. This is also extremely exhausting and it makes us lose self-trust. It makes us feel like we can't trust our own inner knowing or our own internal compass. We are the only ones who truly know what is in alignment with our highest and greatest good and what path we are meant to be on in any season of life. The fifth sign you might be engaging in self-abandonment is that you ignore your feelings and you use any strategy possible to cope, to numb, to not feel, to push it down because we feel like our emotions are an inconvenience and we don't trust ourselves because oftentimes we have emotional reactivity. And because our nervous system is so dysregulated, a lot of times our reactions to life or our emotions feel so big that we feel like if we allow ourselves to feel those feelings, we'll be swallowed whole or that they will consume us or that if we open the floodgate, we'll never be able to get ourselves back. You've created a pattern of silencing our emotions. You tell yourself it's no big deal and that you'll deal with it later. But the truth is that we're just running away from the discomfort of being in difficult emotions. We bury anger, disappointment, frustration, sadness, because it feels safer than expressing it. And over time, we just stop checking in with ourselves about how we feel. If you recognize yourself in any of these signs, please know you are not broken. It just means that you're disconnected from yourself, and there is a way back. By prioritizing your relationship to self, by starting to build trust with yourself, to start prioritizing your own needs. Because even if we feel disconnected in this moment, connection can be rebuilt. Reestablishing a loving, trusting relationship to self is actually the most easy, effortless, intuitive thing if we will allow ourselves the space to slow down, to listen deeply, and to start setting healthy boundaries for ourselves and others. And we start giving ourselves the permission and validation that we've been seeking so desperately outside of ourselves. If this has resonated with you, I am so glad you're here. Thank you for showing up today, and thank you for doing this work. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.